Great to be joined here on The Colour of Country Life by Mick Lorenz. He's the Director of Road Maintenance with the Department of Infrastructure and Transport. Mick, you've had a pretty busy 12 months with all this flooding going on in the SA Murray.
Yeah, sure have. We started last year with flooding in the far north and ended with flooding in the Riverland, and it's still continuing. Yes, absolutely.
All right, so that's resulted in a number of road and ferry closures. I saw a figure mentioned about 120 road closures. Is that what's in place at the moment, or is that what's happened over the flooding events in the SA Murray?
Look, it's a combination of local government and state government roads. My remit is the state government roads, and we've got about a dozen key state government roads that are closed at the moment.
Now, we're speaking on the 17th of January. As at this moment, what are the key roads that are out? I noticed the Princes Highway, I think, back open at a reduced speed.
Yes, that's correct. We've been very much monitoring the water as it rises and falls on the lake. That tends to be impacted by the wind and the tidal conditions more so than the flow. Obviously, the flow is impacting it, but that's what we're watching there. So whenever there's a big wind, we'll pay attention to the levels there. Other key roads are closed across the whole of the Riverland area. Most of them associated with ferry access roads, because obviously they're the ones that get lowest and closest to the river for us in an arterial road perspective. But the couple of key ones in the upper Riverland area are the Book-Penong Road and the Kingston Road through Marook.
Yeah, that one went out not that long ago, just after Christmas. Probably hard for you to say at this stage when that might reopen.
Look, the water level is receding. We expect that we'll probably have access to the full road surface this week. We've commenced clean-up on the road. We are aware that there's been damage to the road shoulders, and once the water goes completely drops, we'll have a sense of the extent of that damage and commence repairs straight away. One thing that we are passing on to the community is that with all of these roads, particularly the ones that have been underwater for some time, the road pavement will be very soft. And so while the road may look like it's fine to drive on, we will be probably for the key roads, we'll be implementing a staged opening where we open it to light vehicles first, and then hold it for some time before we let heavy vehicles on the road, just to protect that surface so we don't end up with significant damage and causing us to close the road again.
Well, let's talk about the ferries. The Waikerie ferry was moved up to the high landing. Did it close for a period of time, or where are we at with the Waikerie ferry at this point?
My remit isn't ferries necessarily, but I can give you a little bit of information around the ferries. So yes, the Waikerie ferry is open at the moment. We did some work both to Taylorville Road to get that open, and also the ferry access. So yes, it is open and operating at the moment with a reduced speed limit on Taylorville Road.
Yeah, because there was a bit of inundation close to one of the access roads to that ferry for a period of time, wasn't there?
That's correct, yep.
Yeah, all right. But otherwise, I believe there's 4 ferries that have kept operating all the way through the situation. But I guess you're not able to tell us when some of those might be reopening.
Look, as you can imagine, as the peak travels down the river, we can expect the ones further up the river to open first. The next ferry that's likely to open is the Lirrup ferry. We're just looking to make sure that the ferry access roads, which are local government roads, are all ready to go at the same time, but we would expect that Lirrup ferry would be the next one to open.
Now, as you say, you're doing these assessments as the water recedes. What is the process now of assessing as the water goes down, just how much impact there's been on the roads, and I guess how you prioritise which ones might need fixing or even upgrading for future flood events?
Look, it does take a lot of sort of investigation. What we've got is we've got a vehicle which we use to test pavement strength, and that's going to be very useful for us in the next few weeks as the water levels recede. So once we've got clear access to the road, we can test the pavement strength, and that'll give us a sense of how much damage there has been or how wet the pavement is underneath and whether it can take loads. There are, of course, some roads that we know are significantly damaged already. We've got significant damage on Hunter Road at Mannum. We know that that a large portion of the road is completely washed away to some depth. Obviously, that's a completely different kettle of fish, and we need to go and plan some major remediation works there.
And on the Bookpurnong Road you mentioned earlier between Berrien and Loxton, will there need to be a future consideration of maybe upgrading the capability of that road for future flood events? It just seems, that's a pretty major arterial now with the bridge there, so much connectivity between those two towns.
Yes, absolutely. We are very much thinking along those lines. We'll have to consider whether we can get support from the Commonwealth Government through the disaster recovery funding. There is a possibility through those mechanisms to seek funding for improving the standard of roads. What we'll do is once we have the road open and operational, we'll start looking to prepare whether there's a business case to do that.
All right, and just lastly, you did mention earlier about caution or advice to motorists about the roads as they reopen. What is your general advice to the motoring public as these roads come back on?
Look, absolutely take care. Please adhere to any road closures. We may well have some road closures which are for local residents only. They are really there to protect the road for everyone. If we get people ignoring those, and we've had a few instances of people even driving over levee banks to get to roads. The roads are closed for a reason. They may not be safe to drive on, or we may be trying to protect it for all road users. So please take care to comply with the signs.
Mick Lorenz from the Department of Infrastructure and Transport. A busy time for you. Thanks so much for joining us today with that update.
Thanks, Ricky. Much appreciated.